Hi guys, I'm Tiffany from Creative Gift Packaging, and today I'm going to show you how to do a 20-inch work cross. These are a little different from our work wreaths. You do them a little bit differently. So, I'm going to be adding some flowers and a little 16-inch moss cross that we carry. So, we're going to use the 21-inch white sparkle Deco mesh. Alright, so when you receive your cross, you're going to receive it in two pieces. And what you'll need to do is you'll take and put the little pegs into the little holes and then slide it together. And they also come with a little zip tie. It's usually tied into one of the branches. All you do is pull it out, take that tie, go around where you slid the cross together, and you just want to pull that tight. That'll hold your cross together until you finish it. You'll just snip that little piece off. Okay, and so I've already got a roll of white mesh that I've had open, and what we're going to do is take, and I'll drop the mesh in the floor. This doesn't hurt the mesh, it's just easier to work with this way. So you'll take your end and you'll gather it up in your hands. And really on these you can start anywhere. I like starting at the end on the bottom. It's just a little easier. So what you'll do is you'll take your mesh and leave about a 4-inch tail. And you'll just tie it in with your ties. Just make sure it's tight. Okay. And you'll just turn the frayed edge, your end of your mesh, up a little bit so that it's running with your cross. Okay, so on these you do them the same as you would the work wreath as far as measuring. You can measure the 12 inches with a ruler or a cutting mat. What I like to do is just take and measure it off the branches. So you'll skip these branches here and then go to this set of branches, and then you'll put it back into the branches you skipped. And just give it a couple ties. Okay. And you continue doing this all the way around. And when you get to the corners where the cross section is, what you'll do is you'll make a little bit smaller puff here. So what I do is just kind of, I'll measure about 8 inches on this. This will keep your cross in shape. If you measure it 12 inches, it's going to make it a little bulky and it won't have the cross shape. So, go ahead and tie that in. And on this, you don't really want to pull the mesh too tight. Your loops will be too small. It won't look as full. And we'll wait till the very end. Once we get all the Deco mesh on the frame before we fluff. That way you don't have to go back and re-fluff. Okay, so once you get to the corner, you just want to go out to the set of ties on this side. My mesh doesn't want to work with me. And you'll make a poof here. And make it about the same size as this poof, so you use about 8 inches of mesh. That way, like I said, it keeps the definition of the cross shape. Okay, on the end, you just want to make the same size, about 8 inches, and go again. Just make sure you're twisting your branches good and tight so that your mesh doesn't slip through. And you can do this in all sorts of colors. You could do it with two different mesh at one time. You can go back over it with a ribbon. There's several possibilities on these. So, and you would do the candy canes and things like that the same way. It's just a little bit different from the wreaths because it doesn't have two rings of branches. It just has one flat base. Okay, so we're doing about 8 inches. And these poops at the end here, just make them about 8 inches as well. If you want to make them smaller, that's perfectly fine. It just all depends on how big you want your cross to be. So we're just about done. We've got 2 more ties to go. And I'm going to show you what it looks like without the little cross in the middle. And then we'll add that to it. And this usually uses about a half a roll of the 21-inch mesh. This is the smaller cross. We do sell one that is, I think, 36 inches. Or maybe it's 28. But this size is perfect for doors. You can get one of the little easel stands and put it on the cemetery grave. You have so many possibilities with these. So we're going to go ahead and do one more puff here. Okay. And what you're going to want to do once you get down to the bottom, you want to pull your ties that you started in kind of around so that you can tie the mesh in from this set to this set to complete it. Okay. So you're just going to take and tie it into the set you started with. Just give it a couple good twists. Okay. And on this you're going to want to take and cut the excess mesh, and I usually leave about a 5 to 6 inch tail. That way you can tuck it up and in behind the wreath. Alright, so what we're going to do is, here's the tail where we ended our mesh. I'm just going to take it and tuck it up inside the cross and cover it up with the mesh. Alright, so now we're going to fluff our poofs. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find the edges of your poof, and you're just going to take and separate it, kind of stick your fingers up in it to make it stand up. So from here you can add flowers to it, ribbons, whatever you would like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add one of our 16-inch burlap angel wine moss crosses. So let's cut the tie off. Okay. And you can use wire to wire this in, or any kind of outdoor glue. We use hot glue. It just makes it a little easier. And before we add the cross, I'm going to take and tuck all these extra ties just kind of behind the mesh to where you're not going to see it, because we are not going to use those after we tie our mesh on. Okay, so what I've done is I've tucked all the ties except for 2 down here and a couple up here, and we're going to use those to secure the cross to the wreath form. So what you're going to want to do is just put a little bit of hot glue on the back of your cross, and take these ties, and these are hollow crosses, so you can stick the tie straight in. And this will just secure it to the wreath form. Okay. Okay, so there you have it with the bound cross in the middle of it. If I don't pull it out. Trim up. There's little strings on this that you can trim up. It's how they're made. They're wonderful. They hold up great in weather. I've had one from last year that was on my Easter wreath, and it still looks as good as the day I bought it. And these are a little messy. Anything with moss is. So just kind of make sure you have a good workspace. That way, if it does shed a little bit, it will be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dogwood flowers that we carry as the accent, the main focal point on this cross. So I'm going to take, we have some green flowers, just filler flowers, and we have some blue hydrangeas. We carry these in several different colors. I think we have yellow and white in these, and then we've got fuchsia, cream, lavender, and a dark royal blue in these. So we're going to start with our green flowers. And you're going to need either a pair of wire cutters or heavy duty wire cutters, whichever you prefer. If you have them handy, they're great. So what I'm going to do is just take and cut just individual branches of these flowers. We're going to add that to the cross. We're just going to kind of layer them on to give the cross some definition. And you don't have to use the whole bush. It depends on how full you want it. The more full you want it, the more flowers you'll use. So what I'm going to do, pull a couple of these little ends off. Okay. And like I said, these crosses are hollow, so you can just make a little hole and slide the flowers down into it. And you can bend them around how you want them. Well, they don't want to work for me, do they? And you can take a little hot glue and just kind of hold it in place. Add a few more flowers on top. And this will just give it a little bit of accent color, makes it look more spring festive. I'm just trimming these up. There's little branches. And you can pull the flowers off if you just want to attach them with hot glue. That sometimes is a little easier. Okay. So we're going to take this branch and do the same thing. I'm going to slide it into the cross. kind of bend it down. Put a little hot glue on here. Just hold it down a little bit. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to take these and kind of stick them in randomly, just to give it a little more filler. And then we'll start layering our other flowers on. And you can do this with any flowers. We sell all kinds of beautiful silks that you could use to do this, and you can match it to your decor. If you want it more summery, you could use the Gerber daisies. You could use the white baby's breath that we carry. You could even use the calla lilies and things like that we carry. Let's stick a couple of these right here. Pull a few more of these little branches off to go across the sides. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little hot glue in places that I want to add a little more filler to. And just stick these in randomly. And there's no certain way that you have to do these. If you want it more full, you just add more. If you don't want it as full, you don't have to add as many. It's whichever you prefer. Okay, so we're just about done with the little green flowers. I'm just going to add a few more. I like fuller wreaths. A lot of customers do prefer a fuller wreath, that way it gives it more life. And it's okay if they stick up here and there. It just gives it more definition. Okay. So now we're going to move to our blue hydrangeas. And on these, I'm just going to use the flower heads off of them. So I'm just going to pop a couple off. And you don't have to use all of them. You can just use a few. And these are on separate little branches, little bundles, and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing as I did on this. So I'm just going to pop them off and place them here and there, just to give it a little bit more life and fullness. And the tops of these are not wired, so you can take just a pair of craft scissors or snips and just trim them off. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and trim these. We're just going to kind of lay them in here just to fill in a little more. like I said, the dogwood flowers are going to go in the center. That way it's more of the accent. They're perfect for these crosses. You could even do, we have the burlap dogwood flowers that you could do if you wanted to do the burlap mesh. They would be great. I would suggest that you spray them with Scotch Guard when it comes to the burlap, because it is weatherproof, but over time it will fade and things. So just take these and we're just going to kind of stick them around. And on these you'll have enough to do a couple crosses depending on how full you make the crosses. Or you can use them in wreaths the same way as you're using them on this, just to give it a little more accent, a little more pop. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I've got a couple more to add. I will be finished adding the glue. So really you're only going to need about 2 little bundles of these. So you can stick this back on your bundle or your bush, and you'll have a couple for later. Let's see, where did you need to go? Okay. So we've got all the accent flowers added. You can leave it like this. I just want to put the dogwoods in the middle for the focal point. So these are gorgeous silk dogwood flowers. We're just going to cut the tag off really quick. And these actually you can kind of tug on and they'll come apart from the branch as individuals. So I'm going to stretch these little vines out. I'm going to take and stick them down in the cross. And like I said, these crosses are hollow. These little vine crosses, so you can stick stuff down in them and they work great. Okay. I'm going to take my dogwood leaves. Let me trim a little bit of this off. These are wired so you can bend them however you want. So I'm going to trim a little bit off. And we're going to take and glue them in just to give it a little more life. And we'll take our little blue flowers and things and kind of pull them around and work the dogwoods into the cross. This makes it look a little more realistic for you. Just kind of weave it in. Okay. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and trim these apart really quick. That way I can stick them in individually. Okay. So what I'm going to do, since this is the blossoms, I'm going to just take and stick it in like I did everything else. Well, it's wanting to be stubborn. If you need to make a hole in it, you can take your little scissors and just kind of poke a little hole through the burlap in the cross, and you'll just stick it in, kind of work your flowers around to where you want them. Okay, we're going to do the same with these. I'm going to pluck a couple of the leaves off so they'll slide down in there a little easier. And then on the last bundle, I'm going to do the same, pluck a couple leaves off. That way they'll slide in there a little easier. Go ahead and trim a little bit of it off also. And then you'll just do the same thing. Alright. So, just kind of bend these around the way you want them to sit. And there you have it. The Deco Mesh Cross featuring the Angel Vine, Burlap, and Moss Cross. And then we've got our little green flowers, blue hydrangeas, and our dogwoods. We'll have a video or a supply list of everything at the end of the video. And we hope you like this. You guys have a good day.